Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today we're journeying deep into the heart of a lush, emerald forest, much like the ones you might find in the beautiful countryside of Vietnam. We're going to share a timeless story, a tale passed down through generations, but with a special little twist. This is the story of the lion and the mouse. Our story begins on a sweltering afternoon. The sun beat down, and the air was thick and heavy. Under the cool, sprawling branches of an ancient banyan tree, a magnificent lion lay sleeping. His belly was full from a hearty meal, and his powerful body was completely at rest. He was the undisputed king of this jungle, feared and respected by all. His golden mane fanned out around his head like a crown, and his gentle snores were like distant thunder, a soft rumble that echoed through the quiet forest. All was peaceful until a tiny field mouse, with whiskers twitching and bright, curious eyes, scampered out from a nearby thicket. She was on a mission, searching for fallen seeds and tasty roots. Lost in her quest, she didn't notice the huge, sleeping lion right in her path. In her haste, she scurried right over his massive paw and then, oh dear, straight up his glorious mane. The tickling sensation was too much for the sleeping king. With a jolt, the lion's eyes snapped open. He was awake, and he was not happy. A thunderous roar ripped through the silent afternoon, sending birds scattering from the trees. In one swift motion, the lion trapped the trembling mouse beneath his giant paw. The world went dark for the little creature. Through the cage of the lion's claws, she could see his enormous, angry face, his whiskers bristling. "How dare you?" The lion growled, his voice a low, menacing rumble. "How dare you disturb my sleep, you insignificant little thing? For your insolence, I shall make you my afternoon snack." He opened his colossal jaws, revealing rows of sharp, gleaming teeth. The poor mouse trembled with fear. Her tiny heart was beating like a drum. But even in her terror, she found her voice. "Oh, great and mighty king," she squeaked, her voice barely a whisper. "Please, I beg your forgiveness. It was an accident. I swear, I was so busy looking for food, I didn't see you. If you would only show me mercy and let me go, I promise you, I will never forget your kindness. One day, I will find a way to repay you." Hearing this, the lion paused. He looked down at the minuscule creature under his paw. The idea was so absurd, so utterly ridiculous, that a deep chuckle rumbled in his chest, growing into a loud, booming laugh that shook the very ground. "You?" he roared with amusement. "A tiny, squeaking morsel like you could ever help me, the king of the jungle? That is the funniest thing I have heard all day." The lion was still in a good mood from his big lunch, and the mouse's plea had tickled his funny bone. The anger melted away, replaced by a sense of kingly amusement. He lifted his paw. "Very well, little one," he said, a grin still on his face. "Your courage amuses me. Go on, run along. But be more careful where your little feet take you next time." Overjoyed and filled with relief, The mouse gave a quick, grateful bow and scampered away as fast as her legs could carry her, disappearing into the undergrowth. The lion watched her go, shook his magnificent head with another chuckle, and settled back down for his nap, the incident already fading from his mind. He never expected to see that little mouse again. But fate, as it often does, had other plans. A few weeks passed. The sun rose and set. The seasons began to shift subtly in the forest. One morning, while patrolling his territory, the lion walked with a proud, confident stride. He was the master of all he surveyed, and he feared nothing. But his confidence made him careless. He failed to spot a trap, cleverly hidden among the fallen leaves and tangled vines, a strong rope net laid by human hunters. In an instant, his leg was snared, and the net sprang up, hoisting him off the ground and leaving him dangling helplessly between two trees. He thrashed and roared with fury and frustration. He pulled and he struggled, his powerful muscles straining against the thick ropes. But it was no use. The more he fought, the more the net tangled around him, pulling tighter and tighter, cutting into his skin. His mighty roars of anger soon turned into roars of pain and despair. His desperate cries echoed for miles through the jungle, a sound of a trapped and defeated king. Every creature that heard it shivered and hid, for they knew the king was in trouble, and they were too afraid to help. While almost everyone, far away in her cozy little burrow, a certain small mouse heard the terrifying roars. But instead of fear, she felt a jolt of concern. The sound was familiar. She scurried from her home and followed the sound, her heart pounding not with fear but with a sense of urgency. She raced through the forest, her tiny legs a blur, until she came to a clearing. And there she saw a heartbreaking sight. Her savior, the magnificent lion, completely entangled in the hunter's net, exhausted and defeated. Without a moment's hesitation, she ran to the base of the tree. "Don't worry, my king," she called up to him. "Hold on. I am here to help you." The lion stopped struggling and looked down, his eyes wide with disbelief. It was the very same mouse he had spared weeks ago. He was about to tell her it was hopeless, that nothing so small could possibly help, but he was too weak to even speak. The little mouse didn't wait for permission. She climbed up the tree trunk and onto the thick ropes of the net. Then she set to work. She began to gnaw at one of the main ropes with her tiny but incredibly sharp front teeth. Nibble, nibble, chew, chew. It was hard work. The rope was thick and tough, but she was determined. She remembered the lion's mercy, his act of kindness when he could have easily ended her life. This was her chance to repay that debt. Strand by strand, the rope began to fray. Seeing her progress, the lion grew still, watching in silent astonishment. The mouse worked tirelessly, her jaw aching, but she didn't stop. She chewed through one rope, then moved to the next, and then the next. Slowly, painstakingly, the tension in the net began to loosen. After what seemed like an eternity, with one final, determined bite, the main rope snapped. The net tore open, and with a great thud, the lion fell to the soft forest floor. He was bruised, sore, and exhausted, but he was free. He slowly got to his paws, shaking his mane to free the last of the tangled ropes. He looked down at the tiny mouse, who was panting from her efforts but looking up at him with bright, proud eyes. A wave of shame and gratitude washed over the mighty lion. He lowered his massive head until his nose was level with the little creature. "Little friend," he said, his voice soft and filled with humility. "I was a fool to laugh at you. You, in your smallness, have shown more courage and loyalty than creatures 100 times your size. You have saved my life. You have taught me a lesson I will never forget." The lion leaned in and gave the tiny mouse a gentle nudge with his nose, the greatest sign of respect and affection a king of the jungle could give. From that day forward, the lion and the mouse were the most unlikely, but also the most loyal of friends. The lion, in his great power, made sure no harm ever came to the mouse and her family, and the whole jungle learned a valuable lesson that an act of kindness, no matter how small, is never, ever wasted, and that courage and strength can be found in the most unexpected of places. Thank you so much for joining us for this special story today. We hope it brought a little warmth and wisdom to your day. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and ring the bell so you won't miss our next adventure. Until next time, take care and be kind to one another.